So the essence of Mahayana Buddhism, and we've been sort of working off this outline. So the principles that were enumerated then, the idea that Mahayana is an open path, that it's all inclusive, that it's a path of awakened heart, that it has an altruistic view, that it has specifically altruistic activities, that is the paramitas, of which wisdom is the primary paramita. And talked also one of the essential points being the union of skillful means and prajna. I think when I introduced this, I might have said prajna and compassion, but compassion is usually skillful means. And skillful means, the Sanskrit word is upaya, which is also translated as method. So you have wisdom and method, or inspiration and marketing ability. That the feminine wisdom, the contribution of prajna is the insight, the intelligence, the inspiration. And the upaya is the path, the method. How do I make this available to others so that they can benefit from this wisdom? And so upaya consists traditionally of things that are elements of the path: meditation, chanting, ritual. All of the practice is, in fact, upaya or method. So the feminine wisdom and sort of masculine method, and they, in the union of those two, is the goal here in Mahayana. In a way, the origin of the Buddhist notions of sudden path and gradual path are contained in this union of prajna and upaya, in that prajna being inspiration or wisdom, intuitive, kind of like recognition or apprehension, is sudden. And method is always gradual. Ritual takes time, meditation takes time, sadhana, these are things that are cultivated. So you have the sudden path and the gradual path also being united in this idea of prajna and upaya. But the sudden path, when studied on its own, as we are doing here in the Prajna Paramita, and as we've been doing the last few weeks, because we've been talking specifically about this nature of feminine wisdom as this living spiritual energy that we can experience, and that it can infuse our life with. And in that sense, we're talking about sort of the idea of a sudden path. And sudden path, and whenever you're talking about a sudden path topic like Prajna Paramita or Tantra, that's always very unpredictable, because the sudden path is just basically opening yourself up to the spirit or to wisdom here in an open and unspecific way. It's just opening to the moment, to the present, to wisdom in the present moment. So it's not like we're trying to invoke a healing energy or a pacification energy or a nourishing or enriching energy or some specific, or a clearing the obstacle energy or shaking the foundation type of energy. I mean, those would be all kinds of energies you could invoke in a Vajrayana sense. But here, with the Prajna Paramita, we're just opening to wisdom. So that has this kind of charismatic quality of being unpredictable. because feminine wisdom has an unpredictable, spontaneous quality to it. And feminine wisdom has sort of actually three ways in which we engage it when we've opened in this way. And we could say that we engage the wisdom that just shows us or discloses or reveals to us truth or reality about things, usually specific things that we're in the dark about. There's the wisdom that speaks to us, that actually, almost speaks in words to us. Particularly if you're a writer, it speaks in words to you. And then the wisdom that acts, and that is when we're in situations, that inspiration and insight into how to efficiently deal with that situation is that kind of, present wisdom, applied wisdom, wisdom that acts. We have wisdom that shows, wisdom that speaks, wisdom that acts. And but all of that takes place as a result of our just being open and in the present in an unspecific way. So that's a kind of charismatic, Buddhist charismatic spirituality. So in the charismatic vein, since we're going to leave the charismatic vein here, but I have a fondness for it. We'll come back to it when we get to Tantra. But in the charismatic vein, you start getting the kind of talk where you're going to be a temple for the spirit. So you're going to have an interesting relationship with the spirit. It's not one where you're here and there, but that you're a vessel and the spirit fills you. You're a temple and the spirit enters you. Now, in this case, it's very interesting because who are we a temple for? We're a temple for perfect wisdom. So this is a very high level temple here. This is not Louisiana voodoo. I mean, you can let yourself be possessed by all sorts of things, but here we're opening up to perfect wisdom, and we actually become, in a sense, the space for wisdom to appear in this world. So that's sort of the charismatic side of Prajna Paramita. Now, on the gradual side, we have this, dedication, because of our altruistic view, to making wisdom available to all. And so the gradual path is really the all-inclusive path, because really very few people can just open to the spirit. I mean, the charismatic, being able to open to the spirit in becoming a prophet is, kind of a rare vocation. But everyone can meditate. Everyone can, show devotion. So there's all sorts of methods. So having methods for everybody to do, even if the method is simply going to church and singing a few hymns on Sunday morning, which is pretty low level, but it's better than, playing Mario Brothers, 24/7, just another type of retreat. So that all-inclusive gradual path it's not something we should spurn, because it's more of a more democratic, all-inclusive way. And it's also the practical application of these high energies, these perfect wisdom energies. So perfect wisdom gives us access to all kinds of Buddhist energies. What are Buddha energies good for? Well, they're good for solving specific situations. So situations might require nourishment, abundant energy, the Ratnasambhava energy. Situations might require warmth or compassion, or the energy of Amitabha. Situations might require calming energy or purifying energy like Varachana or Varshasattva from the center of the mandala. They might require a just cutting to the truth type of energy, or they might require just a lot of hard work, like Amoghasiddha energy, accomplishing energy. So, all these energies that we, and their sub-energies and so forth, that we can invoke, that's all part of the gradual path as well. But Prajna Paramita is so wonderful because it's so simple. I mean, it's just be there, be open, be wise. And wisdom has this very light quality because it's actually light. So the next part of the essentials of Mahayana that I mentioned in the beginning, the faith in the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas, here we introduce Prajna Paramita, the highest wisdom, the transcendent wisdom, out of which Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, the energies arise. And we also visited our incarnation in Zakachari. So the last one that we talked about is what I want to say a few words about tonight, which will sort of lead us into our next series, is the idea of inexhaustibility. So Mahayana is inexhaustible. It's limitless. It has a gradual path. The gradual path is a limitless gradual path. It never ends. It has sudden awakening. That's vast, limitless, ever present on all sorts of levels. But the one I want to talk about tonight is to sort of further fill in our map here of where Prajna Paramita fits in the kind of psychological, cosmological realm of truth here. So one kind of inexhaustibility is this inexhaustibility of vision. And on the practice side, we talk about the ultimate goal of practice being the union of shamatha and vipassana meditation. So shamatha is being able to experience through meditation calm abiding, that you can still your mind, that you can sit still, that you can sit still and be okay with that. That you can abide in a calm way as long as you need to. So that's calm abiding, and that's just sort of, you have to calm your mind, and you work with your mind, and your mind being able to rest it. And then the complement to that, of course, is vipassana, which is a clarity or panoramic awareness. So because you have this, you're calm, but you're also completely aware of everything around you. You have kind of like an extra clarity, extra sense of clarity, because you're not just clear about your own body and how you feel and what's in your mind, but what's around you, how you're interacting with what's around you, what's around that, what's all around. So that kind of clarity, united with shamatha, that's like the awakened person when you bring those two together. Well, that's the start of this kind of visionary quest that takes place in the Mahayana. In that vipassana, this clarity is also the space. Clarity is like the space that's God or the Dharmakaya or the transcendent. And when we talked earlier about Prajna, we said there was a transcendent reality, which is like the Dharmakaya or Samantabhadra, and then there's a radiance that comes out of that transcendent. In fact, the only part of what we see is the radiance, and that radiance or luminosity or light, clear light, that's Prajnaparamita. And then out of that clear light arise the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, or the energies of the Buddha. Well, so in meditatively speaking, that clear light, we provide within ourselves that space for wisdom by our payment of Prajna, or panoramic awareness or clarity. So if we can abide calmly and we can have this sense of panoramic awareness, then we create the space in which light, radiant luminosity naturally arises, because we are the space, and then the light comes out of that space. Now, as I said before, we talked about how that light can take the form of these Buddha energies. And when it takes the form of Buddha energies, what happens is that the light, the light is carried outward, and it forms, eventually it forms a visual, tangible world that's really like a projection. It's a projection of, first of all, it's Buddha energies are making it up. Light is fueling the Buddha energies, but it's taking the form of a human conditioned existence, because that's what we perceive. We can't perceive, say, insect reality, we perceive human reality. So the Buddha energies coming out of light form human phenomenal world. In this human phenomenal world, which is pretty basic with variation for all humans, then we have a little bit of personal narrative that we mix into that. And part of the personal, and then also you have this confusion that gets mixed into it as well. And so eventually you end up with a projected world that's a bit neurotic, because all the Buddha energies have gotten turned into sort of various kinds of neurotic energies. And so we have to somewhat reverse that process through practice of purifying neurotic energies, neurotic twists that we've done on this, on the Buddha, on the fundamental Buddha energy, so that we turn hatred into clarity, we turn ignorance into equanimity, and so forth and so on. But there's another way. That's the outward nature. All right. Out of the clarity of Vipassana, Buddha energies arise. Out of the clarity, Buddha energies arise and project an outer world. But we can also use Prajnaparamita as a gateway to move in the other direction as well. This is sort of like going not the way the river flows or the way light rays flow. Light rays flow out from the sun and illuminate worlds. But if we go backwards, we're going back to where the light rays began. Well, the light rays begin with these photons, particles of light. Now, we can't actually see, I don't think we can actually see what scientists call a photon, but in Buddhist meditation, Tibetan Buddhist tradition, in the Dzogchen tradition, we see bindus and seed syllables. in Togyo practice. And in Togyo practice, we actually are looking at the particles of light or luminosity that are arising out of the clarity of transcendent Buddha nature. And inside those little particles of light are, in fact, Buddhas and Buddha fields. And that those Buddhas inside the particles of light, those are the Buddha energies. So all the Buddha energies that are rising out of light, you can actually experience it. That's the amazing thing. And that's the whole idea with Togo, is that you go back up to where light is coming out of clarity, say clear light, and then you get this idea of the light, and then inside those spheres of light are Buddhas and Buddha fields and Buddha energies. In that world, well, actually, they can be looked at as spheres, but they can also be looked at as diamonds. So there are all these diamonds, and all these diamonds have Buddhas in them. It's a bit also like the mirrors, or like the Avastansaka Sutra, where there's just this infinite mirroring of deities through all these different nodes and lights, like the jewel net of Indra. But at any rate, in all these particles of light, there are diamond worlds, and in the worlds there are the Buddha energies. So this world of Buddha energies embedded in light is the Vajra world, sacred world, divine world. That's right there. You got everything. You've got space, light, Buddha energy. You're right at the point of creation, right there. So this is our new title for Prajna Paramita. We're going to call her as the gateway to the Vajra world. Because you can use that light to go back to the point of creation where the Buddha energies reside, which is in the light itself. I was going to continue with having launched into the inexhaustibility of vision. I was going to pair that with where we're headed next, which is a little more mundane, which is the inexhaustibility of Buddhist texts. And specifically, this is the large sutra on perfect wisdom. And this was what I was going to read from next. This is not the largest. This is apparently the 18,000 line one, or the 25,000 line one. I can't tell. I think he combined the two of them here and just called it big, or in Sanskrit, Maha. So this is Maha text. And there's 100,000 one, and there's supposedly a million line Prajna Paramita, but I don't know if there's actually an existing copy of that one or not. But it's 9:45, so I think we're going to have to keep we'll hold off on the beginning this until next week. I do not think we will read through the whole thing, because it's only one of many texts. Well, any questions or comments, you can unmute yourselves if you would like.
Just want to say that's such a beautiful vision of Prajna and Paramita as the gateway to the Vajra world, and that description is really, really stunning.
I agree. Stunning. Absolutely.
So the human realm we're seeing right now, there's this pandemic, and if we open to this pure vision, I mean, is that reminding us somehow to hold our vow like that, or I don't know.
Well, at the moment, the world looks quite pure. It looks much more pure because hardly anybody wandering around. It's like pure and uncluttered. And up here where I am, the weather's still pretty bad here. That's what should improve soon. So I think that we have to go. This is an interesting situation, and I don't know if my current feelings are quite the right ones or not. In a lot of situations in the past, I felt more of an urgency to apply supernatural spiritual remedies in the form of various Vajrayana practices that, some of you are familiar with, that we have at our disposal. And certainly at some point we may need to do that. I'm not sure which ones. I think Ekajati is a good one right now, and other ones may be necessary later. But I'm also in this mode, and it's sort of the Prajna Paramita mode of which is a bit of a Dzogchen mode, because I don't see a lot of difference between the simplicity of Prajna Paramita and the simplicity of Dzogchen, which is this idea of just abandoning yourself to the moment, to wisdom in the present moment. So right now, in the present moment, things look pretty pure. In fact, I don't know if there's been a moment where they haven't looked pure. I mean, not that I haven't thought they weren't pure, I felt that they weren't pure. But they can't ever say there was ever a moment where they weren't pure. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. If I saw them as other than pure, it was because I wasn't seeing properly, because of my, confused emotionality. Mm-hmm. So I don't think there's really a problem with whatever zombie situation is unfolding outside in pure vision. Mm-hmm. Right. If it gets to the latter part of Dawn of the Dead, then I think we're going to have to get some Vajrayana practice. That's why we should get that up earlier. Because when it gets down to Dawn of the Dead, we're going to want to have some training.
But this is like a real test, right? Of cutting thoughts and staying open and that type of thing. It's a real test to keeping a happy heart and cutting thoughts, because there's so much it's almost like a mass hysteria.
Well, it may or may not be hysteria, but it's
confusion.
The thing is, I don't know what it is because I'm just getting it through the media, which I don't trust a bit. So I don't, it's one of these things like, is it, what's really going on? And as far as I know, I mean, I just don't, I can only, there's a level where part of self-isolation is isolating yourself to actual reality that you personally experience on a moment-to-moment and day-to-day basis. Responding to that. And I mean, the media world is this cloud of all sorts of stuff at the moment. Part of which is news, for example, with Russian bots and disinformation and all sorts of stuff.
In my isolation, here with my husband and my son, who are happy if they can ignore me. So I'm just finding a wonderful opening. I'm just being so grateful. The world can go crazy without me. And I can, I'm finding a great opportunity here. Maybe I'll develop a good practice.
Well, that's what I thought. We should open a retreat. We've all been thrust into retreat here.
Get to spend time. Cultivate my space.
Or uncultivated, just in case.
Cultivate. It's already uncultivated.
Well, we're sort of at the boundary of the cultivated and the uncultivated and the cultivated. We are the cultivators, but we draw our energy from the uncultivated. But we have this sort of role to be cultivators. I'm finishing a book right now, which is similar to other things I've written, but it's called Proof of the Existence of God, and it's a contemplative work. And in one of the passages I was reworking, I was writing about how God actually loves us to be unemployed, and that God has a special place for the unemployed, and then when you have no agendas and no pursuit, and when you give up all your projects and ambitions and then God loves that, and God holds the unemployed close to his heart. And I thought about that a lot, then I had to add something more to that. But then, after you've been in God's heart for a while as the unemployed, you start to notice various things around you that need care. So you leave your unemployed status and go out to the world and take care. But that seems to be the process, that we have to become unemployed before we can become employed.
It's a very strange situation. It's it's been a weird mix of anxiety and some opening, like Arvilla said, but it's been my experience has been pretty mixed bag. It's just too weird for me to wrap my head around some of the things I'm reading or hearing.
Yeah, this one has so many strange aspects to it. I mean, like the economic collapse, the isolation aspect, the disease aspect, the fact that, well, actually, it could kill you. This is, and of course, in the group that I'm in part of, the people I know, yeah, that's those. But then in the group that I know, everybody's at home. We're all isolated. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, it's really. And then also you got this whole governmental thing going on, which is very odd too. And you've got the mad and running things. Very strange, very strange.
Well, I just went to Costco at Midtown, Linwood and Maine, and there was, it's just, I mean, people were keeping their distance, but they were still engaging. I mean, you could tell people were kind of starved to talk to somebody else that wasn't their family, but there just seems to be a lot of uncertainty, a lot of rumors floating around, and definitely a vibe that I don't get in Johnson County walking around, that people are talking about being afraid of potential looters and stocking up on guns and stuff. So I was like, oh, it's definitely a different perspective than, what I've been talking about over the last week or so. So definitely different area, different worries, different fears, different concerns.
This is one of those times where I'm
Glad what, Bruce?
glad I don't have a television.
Oh, yeah.
I have to get. I don't get any kind of direct media hysteria. I had read that gun sales were surging, but
an NRA dream. That's a twist I hadn't heard that one.
This is what you just gave us, Bruce, is I agree with Joe, stunning. Almost left me speechless. So beautiful and so timely.
Is there a subtle suggestion that we also? Well, I was thinking too. What you're saying about which practices and how the Prajna Paramita or the Dzogchen mode is might be the best in a lot of ways, because a couple things came to mind. Just when like the opening that I feel like it cuts through. And then, like I've been taking Eli to the soccer fields, and we've been kicking the ball around and running around, and like when that when we're doing that, that's just he's so happy and he's so sweet and giving me thumbs ups and running around, and that's pretty. That there's something very open and spontaneous and a lot of levity and lightness there. And then I thought of there was a quote. Pope Francis had a quote, which was like, just think of that moment in the future when all this is just a weird dream and everybody is out at the getting coffee and shopping and living normal life, and then that normal life, which we took for granted before, just suddenly seems like a party or a gift or something. Yeah. But yeah, it's just that between that and the surreal nature of the the whole coronavirus cascade of cause and effect that's going on. Those two extremes are a little bit odd, a lot of bit odd for me anyway.
Well, it's very interesting. I mean, social distancing is all about introducing space.
Yeah. That's that.
Yeah. Good one.
What was all about introducing space? I missed that.
Social distancing.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
It fits our obsession with space.
One of the lines in the book I was just finished writing is we are mystical nihilists. We are not just in love with space. We are in awe of it.
Yeah, we're going to these soccer fields and it's a park, and there's probably 12 soccer fields and 0 humans other than me and Eli, and it's right by the highway. It's a little bit loud, but it's total space.
Plenty space.
Plenty of space, yeah.
Well, why don't we do it there, and we will meet further again. By this there, they defeat the enemy wrongdoing
from the stormy waves of brutal sickness and death, from the oceans of sorrow, may I free
all
beings.
Thank you, Bruce. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Bruce.